Hello everyone, my name is Shahbaz Jamil and today I'll be discussing Donald Judd's work Untitled Stack and how it redefined sculpture in the 1960s. It changed how we look at art from a static object to a lived experience of space, light, and perception. Donald Judd was an American artist born in 1928. He started as a painter but quickly moved away from symbolism. He believed that art shouldn't represent something else, it should simply be itself, and this idea became central to minimalism. He is also the author of the essay Specific Objects, which became the foundational text of minimalism. He believed that the experience of an artwork, the space, the light, and the way we move around it matters more than symbolism and emotion in the artwork. So, for my thesis statement, Donald Judd redefined sculpture as an experience of real space and light through repetition, industrial materials, and exact spatial rhythm. He makes viewers conscious of how seeing and being in the space become part of the artwork itself. So Judd's work isn't about expression or symbolism, it's about how we physically experience space. And this becomes central to minimalism philosophy that art as a direct experience rather than interpretation. So in the 1960s, the art world was shifting drastically. Abstract expressionism, as seen here in Jackson Pollock's painting, it was all about emotion, gesture, and the artist's personality. Whereas minimalism was a direct reaction to that. Artists like Donald Judd wanted to remove personal expression and instead focus on clarity, structure, and the space around you, as you can see in his work Untitled Stack on the right side. And this marked the beginning of a new era where art is not about depicting something, but it's about experiencing something real. So he rejected traditional categories like painting and sculpture, and he argued that art should exist in real space, free from any sort of meaning. And he emphasized direct experience over emotion or symbolism. He believed that the experience of the artwork, the space, the light, and the way we move around it, that matters more than the symbolism and emotion. And this idea completely redefines sculpture for future generations. So before Donald Judd's Specific Objects, sculpture often mixed materials and meaning in expressive ways. For example, I'll give you an example of Robert Rauschenberg's Canyon. It's on the right side. So it's messy, symbolic, and full of references. The stuffed eagle, photographs, and all the paints compete for attention. It feels like a story trapped inside an object. And Donald Judd said that art doesn't have to represent anything, it can simply be something. We'll take an example of Dan Flavin's fluorescent lights on the left side. So the sculptures embody that idea perfectly. There's no hidden narrative, just light, color, and space interacting with the viewer. So Flavin's work turns the gallery itself into a part of an artwork. You experience the glow and the reflection in real time. So here the contrast is total. Canyon tells a story. Flavin creates an experience. That's the philosophical leap Judd inspired. So now let's analyze Donald Judd's Untitled Stack. So it consists of 12 identical galvanized iron boxes, each spaced 9 inches apart, and this repetition creates rhythm and balance, like visual breathing, and the wall becomes part of the sculpture, defining the intervals and the scale. And the reflections and lights changes as the viewer moves. And the work seems to breathe with the room and interaction between an object, wall, and the viewer. If we talk about light and reflection, as you move around the work, light passes through the colored plexiglass and shifts tone, and the reflection change with your position. This means that the artwork never looks the same twice, and Judd uses light not as a decoration but as structure. Judd said that wall is part of the piece. By projecting the boxes from the wall, he merges sculpture and architecture. This also seconds John Berger's idea that how we see changes what we see. This perfectly fits here. And the sculpture is not complete without the viewer, and we move around it, noticing how it interacts with light, space, and height. Our physical presence becomes part of the experience. Judd's ideas also faced criticism. In 1967, Michael Fried dismissed minimalism as theatrical. He argued that depending on the viewer's perspective, made it less like pure art and more like a performance. For Fried, good art should be self contained and not reliant on the experience. But Judd disagreed. He believed that art exists within the same world as its viewers, not separate from them. That physical engagement is what makes the art alive. Now let's discuss the key arguments that support my analysis of Untitled Stack. First, spatial experience. Judd's spacing between each unit mirrors rhythm and calm. The even gaps create a visual tempo that makes the piece feel balanced and meditative, almost like a musical composition in space. And secondly, material truth, which means that Judd's use of industrial fabrications remove any trace of artist's hand. And this reflects his belief that art should be honest about what it's made of, not emotional, not symbolic, just pure form and material. And finally, perception engagement. Light and reflection constantly shift as we move. The tinted plexiglass panels glow differently depending on where we stand, so your perception completes the artwork. So together, these three ideas define Judd's approach and connect directly to what critics like Krauss and Berger identified as minimalism's focus on presence over expressionism. So Judd's ideas had a lot of influence. They reshaped how artists, architects, and designers think about space, light, and presence. So Dan Flavin used fluorescent lights to explore light and space, and Richard Serra pushed industrial scale and gravity. They both continued Judd's idea that art should occupy real space and engage with the viewer physically. Architects like Tadao, Ando, and John Pawson carried Judd's clarity into buildings. They emphasized on proportions, light, and silence, and their minimalist designs share Judd's sense of calm precision and material honesty. And if you talk about contemporary art, today artists like Olafur Eliasson and James Turrell expand Judd's idea into immersive installations. They turn light and perception into experiences that surround the viewer, just as Judd envisioned art becoming a spatial reality. So studying Judd helped me see how minimalism isn't cold and emotionless, it's deeply human but in a different way. And he redefined art as presence and not representation. And this project also taught me that how simplicity can actually reveal complexity. And in the digital age, we're always covered with some sort of visual noise, and Judd's art feel almost meditative. It teaches us mindful seeing and awareness of our own environment. So to quickly summarize, meaning isn't what art shows, but how it makes us see. And Judd turned minimal form into maximum awareness, and his work continues to shape how we build, design, and experience space. And these are the references I used for my presentation. And thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Have a good day.